Textbooks Retired to the Shelves by Caitlin Rivers. An educational digital story on situated learning in the classroom. The problems for discovery learning should be real-world problems, not textbook problems. A group of students in Miss Rivers' 7th grade classroom are learning about tessellations. Miss Rivers is lecturing students on the fact that tessellations are formed from regular and repeated patterns in the world around them. The teacher is giving multiple examples of tessellations. However, through her teaching strategy, students are memorizing facts instead of truly understanding the meaning of tessellations and why they are useful. Miss Rivers can see the boredom and lack of engagement in her students. Students leave the classroom with a classic traditional homework assignment, recognizing tessellations out of a textbook. Students come back asking questions such as, how do you really know it's a tessellation? I can determine if it's a tessellation, but I wouldn't be able to create one. Why is this important? It was clear to the class that tessellations was just another thing to remember till the exam. Miss Rivers decided that this type of learning, or lack of, was just not working. She set out to do some research and discovered the situated learning theory. Situated learning is learning with a social process, where knowledge is co-constructed and content is embedded within a social and physical environment. Community of practice is the best term to explain situated learning, in my opinion. Simulating the experience for her learners is just what she wanted to do. Let's start creating tessellations, she says. Social interaction is a key component of situated learning. Students will acquire, develop, and use cognitive tools. They'll be active participants. There are many theories that embodies elements of situated learning. One is the theory of Schoenfeld. Ms. Rivers began her lesson by asking students to come up with real-life applications of tessellations. Students decided to come together and think about different possibilities that they see in everyday life. Some of the things they came up were oriental carpets, different quilts, bricks of patterns on walls or even on patio sets, honeycomb from bees, fish and their scale, and plenty of art in different cultures. Miss Rivers wanted her students to see the power of geometry, to see how mathematics can be the study of patterns. Her biggest challenge was going to be giving students a chance to come up with different ways to make tessellations. In the end, the students would present their creations. Instead of deciding whether something is a tessellation, they would create their own. As each group finished, Ms. Rivers wanted each student or group to present their way of coming up with their tessellation so each of the groups in the whole class could contribute and learn from each student. The first group came up. They used symmetry to create their own tessellation through the use of reflection and rotation, where when they created one of the sides, they then could reflect it to the next side and they would have a pattern. Group 2 then came up with a completely different idea. Using polygons, we used a form of a jigsaw puzzle to connect the dots. This allowed for identical figures to lock together. Group 3 came up with a really cool idea where they cut out and made a tessellation template. Then each of their modifications can be translated to the side directly opposite. What a really cool idea, Ms. Rivers was thinking. This way their shape is completely unique to anybody else's, but completely forms a tessellation. Group 3 then showed the class When you form one of the shapes, it then connects and forms a complete tessellation. Through the use of examples and explanations, Ms. Rivers assessed her students on their presentations. This sure did develop and test students' imagination and precision skills. Students that liked to draw were able to extremely engage, as they used to not be able to create. Students that weren't as creative were able to use different choices and methods after the presentation. Students visualize and illustrate ways to which shapes can be combined, subdivided, and changed. They learned how to incorporate geometry concepts such as reflection, symmetry, rotation, similarity, and flips. Ms. Rivers reflected on her lessons. As she quickly realized from her textbook lesson, students had a lack of understanding about tessellations. However, her second lesson, where her students were the teachers, her students were able to bring creativity, uniqueness, and collaboration creations of tessellations to the whole class. Students struggled to learn the concept of tessellations through the use of traditional textbook learning, but through the use of situated learning, where tessellations were co-created within a social environment, students were able to understand and learn the material. Ms. Rivers' different teaching strategy the second time allowed confused, bored students to become engaged and knowledgeable students.